Yeah. Damn it, I forgot to set it up. Oh, here we go.
Now, I would like to introduce the one, the only, me.
Hey, Squiddies, it's Dre from Tattoo Squid Podcast. Yes, that podcast. Here with Recasted Podcast, the host, Wayne. Here. Thank you for showing up and being on the show and all that jazz.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. It's pretty exciting. I always like going on and doing other people's shows because I'm kind of the main guy on my show. So I do all the editing and I do all the behind the scenes stuff. And so getting to go on somebody else's show and I'm like, oh, all I gotta do is talk and then I'm done.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Editing? What's that? I don't even fucking do that shit. It is what it is. It's like it's raw, it's uncut, and put it right out the door. That's it. So, they hear it, they see it. The only thing I do, like, I don't even call it editing wise. I just call it like adding stuff to it. It's like the beginning, like I'll have the episode, like say on the audio version, put it right there. Then whatever we talk about, I'll find some kind of snippet, like kind of like sound effects or soundboard stuff, and I'll just put that stuff in there and a couple of promos here and there, and then it plays the episode, and then it does a little bit more, and then it's done.
Right. So it's kind of like what we do. I think because we do the movie podcast, I add a lot of movie clips into each episode because we recast certain characters. So I'll put a clip of them talking in the movie.
Yeah, definitely. It's like a little bit here. Sometimes it's like a little, like if you like a favorite band or something, I'll play like a snippet or even like a song from the band. Just put it on there, and then like Terminator would come out and go, "I'll be back," and then sound effects, and then I tried making some other stuff up, like meanwhile behind this facade of this innocent looking book, not the bookcase, but it's called a podcast. So, but I try to throw a little bit here, a little bit there and there, and it kind of brings it in. And a lot of people say like, I like what you did with that. I'm like, all right, cool, I'll keep on doing it. So, but so what's the most craziest movie that you kind of like recasted?
So crazy is a weird term. I mean, Ocean's 11, because you've got 11 big stars that you're recasting and you have to find 11 other people to replace those giant stars with. That was tricky. Then there's some of my favorite movies way back when. Our first episode ever was Major League, because that's my all-time favorite movie. And so now I'm trying to recast people in a movie that I think there's nothing wrong with and I would never remake, but just for the sake of the show, we had to do it.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, but and it's just you're the host, or you got like other people involved?
No, so it's me and Jesse. Jesse B is my co-host on every episode, and occasionally we'll have a guest host. So we've had Kyle from Movie Wars on. We've had Stephen Doyle from These Films Are the Juice. A few different other movie podcast people have come on and done a recast with us. I think Dave and James from Field of Screens podcast, they've done 2 of them with us.
Oh yeah, nice. And the last one, not the one that you just mentioned, but the one before, the Juice, the podcast, something with the Juice, I think it's called.
Stephen Doyle, These Films Are the Juice.
That's right. You're gonna be doing an episode probably after this one, I guess, or probably on Sunday.
Yeah, so tomorrow we're doing a Tom Cruise movie draft, and it's basically you have to take 2 movies from the 80s, 2 from the 90s, 2 from 2000s, 2 from 2010. So 8 picks total. And it's me, Steve, who's the host of that show, and then the 80s movie podcast is joining us. So it's the 3 of us are going to pick our own roster, and it's a snake style draft. And I'm pretty confident because Tom Cruise is my favorite actor. So I know what I want as my first pick. I'm like, I'll disclose it because by the time this comes out, they won't hear it. But A Few Good Men. Yeah. I really want A Few Good Men. That's my number 1 on my big board. And then Jerry Maguire is number 2. If I can get those 2 movies, it doesn't really matter how the rest of them fall out.
I am partial to Cocktail.
Okay.
Cocktail and Top Gun. Like the very first ones. I mean, well, not very first ones, but I mean, he did Risky Business.
Yep.
And that one,
The Outsiders.
Oh yes, I forgot what his name was in that one.
He had all those messed up teeth back then.
No, yeah. Didn't we all, back then when we were the leather jackets and all that, and we're trying to go after the Sochas, and I think that's what it's called. Yeah, the Sochas, and there was Cherry Bomb and Cherry, I guess, something like that. But sounds kind of sexual. I don't know. But yeah, we call it outside. Oh my God, imagine you could probably do one for the Outsiders.
We could. It fits the criteria, and again, a lot of big stars who weren't big stars at the time, like the Matt Dillon and Emilio Estevez, Tom Cruise, right? Just a loaded cast. It'd be interesting. Going back, so I had to read The Outsiders in school, and then we watched the movie.
Oh yeah.
And for me, watching them, like rewatching it as an adult, though, I was like, it's kind of a slow movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is a slow. It's like one of those more drama. But it has its actions. It's got its comedy too. It has a mixture. It's a mixed bag that you see on there. Like some of us, we read the books and everything else. Nowadays, everybody's like audio books. I'm like, yeah, okay, why don't you just read the book like normal people would do? I mean, I got books, and mine were, obviously my first book was like a Stephen King thing. I forgot which one it is, but each one of them was really good. Like you had Silver Bullet, or you got Christine, Skinwalkers, whatever. You get a whole plethora of different stuff he does. And then I started venturing into more like thriller kind of wise, not Michael Jackson, but there's a author called Preston and Childs, and they actually do books on like a series. So there's a series called the Pendergast series. So I don't know if you want to check out the books or not, but they actually did a movie from one of the books, and it's called Relic.
Okay.
And it's the movie's been I forgot who was in the movie though, but they basically is based on a New York City lieutenant, and he's teamed up with an FBI agent that kind of looks like somebody that would work in a morgue. He's like that skinny, and he just looks bewildered. But he very knowledgeable in everything that's weird. And but with the movie, the lieutenant's in there. There's a museum of natural history that has all these like artifacts and everything else, and they got some stuff from South America, which is some kind of animal that they don't know what it is, but they put it to sleep and everything else, but they thought they did. But this animal attacks people and eats their brains, kind of like Night of the Living Dead kind of thing. But the brains of said thing, we call it incorporated, and it's a thinking killer. Yeah. So he goes, stalks everybody. Now it's like a big, huge, kind of like a rhino looking apparatus of sorts. So it's a very interesting movie, and it's very interesting books, to say the least, because each one has a different take on whatever, and it's very, like, I read the one book, which I didn't know was in a series. So I was like reading the one book where it's like the fifth or sixth books in this, the sixth one in like the series or whatever, and I could not put it down. I mean, let alone my wife, when she was sick, she was in the hospital, and I had to do something. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go and read this book. I just kept on reading it, and that was it. And usually, and back then, none of us had cell phones. It's not like, let me go read my book on my cell phone. No, now it's like, okay, bookmarker, and whatnot. So, see, folks, sit down, read a book, or whatever. If I could make a book, man, that'd be great. But
when I was younger, I used to read about a book a day, and like Lord of the Rings, it took me about 3 days to read all 3 books. And the thing that I found though is that whenever I would read a book and then watch the movie, it always kind of ruins the movie for me. You know, if I
Yeah.
didn't read the book, then I usually enjoy the movie a little bit more because. So I'll give you an example of that. Is I read The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown.
Yeah.
And then the movie came out. Horrible casting, by the way. I never would have cast Tom Hanks in that role, as much as I love Hanks. But I didn't like the Da Vinci Code movie because I just read the book. But then I watched Angels and Demons, which was like the prequel. I never read Angels and Demons, so I liked the movie.
Of course, yeah, that's what happens. It's like I said, I seen like Relic, and I'm like, oh, okay, and I didn't know it was like the book, and then I read the book, and I'm like, okay, I get the simulation of it, but it didn't really had your, like Tom Hanks was in this one, not in the movie, but like what you were talking about, like he was in, Angels and Demons and the Da Vinci Code, but then this one was like, it wasn't really like a familiar kind of cast, so it kind of worked, for somebody that was watching it, and I'm like, all right, cool, but and folks, I know I've said this many times, and I try to sway away from like rebooted movies, but if there's like a movie that's really good and it's a classic, just I know Hollywood has no original thought in their minds because they like to remake everything. It's like, oh no, Nightmare on Elm Street. Oh, let's do another one. Which the one they did with oh, I forgot the guy's name. I'm not good with names, but he's very short. He was in the movie. It's like Dr. Manhattan. There's like a slew of others. One guy looks like Batman, but he's not Batman. There's a Joker, played by the guy that was the father of Supernatural. I can't remember the. Hold on, I got confused.
Well, I know the dad in Supernatural is Jeffrey Dean Morgan, right?
Yeah,
he's Negan in The Walking Dead.
Yeah, and then he was Walking Dead, but with Lucille. But then there was the wait, hold on. Let me. Good thing with computers, you can look up shit in a split second. Yeah, we call okay. So Dr. Manhattan, Watchmen. The movie The Watchmen. So then
Jackie Earl Haley.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was he was the thing I was trying to say was, and I completely forgot
A remake of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, remake and all that. There was Nightmare on Elm Street. So the guy that played Horshack, and then he played Nightmare on Elm Street. He was playing Freddy Krueger, but I've never known Freddy Krueger to be 5 foot tall. Like he was small. He was smaller than the women that he was going after, in the movie. And I'm like, oh, this is so bad. Like really bad. I'm like, really? Come on. Might as well just get the midget from Leprechaun to go in there too while you're at it.
But and my whole take on remakes is if it was a movie that was very CGI driven, then obviously our technology is so much better now. Go ahead and try to remake it. But even then, they can still mess it up. And I'll give you an example. Is one of my all-time favorite 80s movies is RoboCop. Yeah. And they remade it in 2014. And I watched it. It was trash. It was absolute garbage.
Oh, yeah.
And the first one wasn't like an Academy Award winning movie by any stretch, but it was just so much better than the remake.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The guy was in the Suicide Squad.
Yeah. House of Cards. He was running for president.
Yeah. Wasn't really a fan of House of Cards for some reason. Maybe because it's like a political thing. I'm not really one for that. So I don't know. Are you a political person there, Wayne?
Not really. So my whole thing is I tell people when in political, I like to have political debates with people.
Yeah.
But my whole take on it is I'm a very middle of the road guy. I don't assign a label, like not Republican, not Democrat, not left wing, not right wing. I consider myself a free thinker. I'm like, give me each individual topic. I'll explore it and I'll come up with an idea. And I'm more than happy to talk to other people about how they feel about it. And when I say debate, there's a lot of trolls out there who just like to argue with you and they won't really say anything. My whole thing on this is like, if you disagree with somebody, whether it's politics, whether it's religion, whether it's sports, but sometimes it's more heated than politics. But if you disagree with somebody, it's for one of two reasons and only two reasons. Either they have different information than you do, in which case, why don't you listen to them and hear what their information is that they have? I mean, you can incorporate that into your belief. Yeah. Or number two is they have the same information, but because of their life experiences, they're interpreting it differently than the way that you interpret that information. So again, why not have a conversation and say, hey, I'm just trying to understand why you're seeing it this way when I see it this way. And there's no disrespect meant.
Yeah.
But because, like you said, those topics are such hot button that even if you question somebody a little bit, they lose their minds, even though I'm just trying to get information.
Oh, I got a friend of mine that's like that, and I'm not naming any names. It starts with an S, but I mean, he doesn't mean to go into it, but like he'll watch like stuff on TV, like they show the news and all that, then he'd be like, oh, blah, 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 you're just dumbass, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, it's just telling you the news. Oh, it's bullshit. It's all bullshit. Nah, nah, nah. And I'm like, then I try to give my opinion, and then he just cuts you down. And because like, oh, you got to see it this way. You're not really a political. I'm like, I'm not, because I don't give a shit. Because I haven't really myself. I haven't even, like, when I first voted when I was like 19, when you could be able to do the voting, and that's the last time I voted. And I'm like, I'm 49. I'm gonna be 49. In like 2 months, and I was like, I still haven't voted, because honestly, there's no way around it. I, see that I kind of liked. I mean, Clinton, okay, fine. At least he got laid. I don't know. But, and then all of a sudden now you got Trump, which I thought it was a joke, because I was like, I lived in Pennsylvania. I moved back, and what? I'm like, I might as well stay with my mom and dad, because I have no money I forgot how expensive Long Island is. And, so I'm sitting there and watching, and I come home and I bring beer, and I'm looking at my mom's watching the presidential thing, and I'm like, so how many people are supposed to be in this Democratic thing and all that? It's like, it's supposed to be, I don't know. I think it might be 5 or 6, whatever, but it turned out there's like 15, like it's like astronomical. And then I look and I'm like, well, what the fuck's Donald Trump doing there? I was like, is he spreading another word that he has a TV show coming out? I don't know. And that's what I thought it was. He's like, no, he's running for president. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. And I'm like, I'm going to drink my beer in peace.
Well, history repeats itself. And if I had to quote a movie, think of Back to the Future, and he's like, okay, future boy, who's the president in 1986? It's Ronald Reagan. The actor? Who's vice president? Jerry Lewis?
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm like looking, I'm like, what the fuck? And it was just like, because I like the memes that they have for movies now, or not movies, like real life. I seen one. It was Back to the Future, taking a reference that you had. So there's a Back to the Future spot where Doc's sitting in the DeLorean, and there's Marty, and he goes, Marty, and he goes, Doc, where you going? He goes, I'm going back to 1998. I'm going to fill up my tank. So it's like that thing where they make the memes for our time, but it's pretty much the same reference of like Back to the Future. It's like, oh my God, we got to do something about your kids. Your kids, Marty, kids.
Yeah,
they're gonna be idiots.
To touch on what you were saying though about like not voting, so I went through a stretch as well where I didn't vote because I just, again, fed up with everything, sick of everything you're seeing on TV, and you just kind of get tired of it. But then, so ever since I was a kid, and even to this day, one of the things on my bucket list is I would love to run and ideally win for U.S. Senate. I would love to be a U.S. Senator. And if I'm going to do that, I can't abstain from voting. I have to be like, listen, I'm voting because that's what I do. And I've had the conversation with my daughter because she's like, I'm not going to vote. I said, well, why won't you vote? And she said, well, because I won't like anyone who's running. I was like, so you can vote for anybody,
Yeah.
And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, she was like, who did you vote for? She goes, did you vote for Biden? She asked me, right? I said, no, I didn't vote for Biden. And she goes, oh, so you voted for Trump? I said, no, I didn't vote for Trump either. She goes, so you didn't vote? I said, no, I did vote. I said,
there is another person there.
Yeah, there's a write-in. I voted for Tulsi Gabbard. I really liked her. And I said, you can vote for anybody you want. You can vote for your best friend. I said, it doesn't matter. Like, if you think there's somebody that's worth putting on the ballot, then write them in. And again, you'll get those people who say, well, you're going to waste it then. No, I'm voting for who I want, and Garth Brooks sings a song where he says, I'm not doing this to change the world. I'm doing this to show you that the world won't change me. I'm going to do what I think is right.
Yeah, exactly. I try to think of, stuff that I'm like, nah, but then all of a sudden you're definitely going to have those people that's on the outside that knows everything about politics and everything else, I don't really give a shit. Yeah, I mean, I'll be like, listen, if they're gonna run the place, okay, fine. I'm like, yeah, now it's like, okay, the gas is fucking up there, and I'm like, all right, it's kind of late for it now to be able to vote something, but I honestly don't want to have like a crazy, infomercial looking president, and then I figured, oh, well, maybe this guy has a chance, whatever. I don't know. So, but now we know what's going on. And actually, what's funny when you look at the gas tanks, and I don't know if you have this, but like in Long Island, there's like this. You go to this gas tank, and there's like a sticker, and there's Biden, going like, "I did that,"
I've seen those tacked up around, and it's funny because I tell people, I say, the president to me is a figurehead. You know what I mean? He doesn't really do anything, and so it's funny when I saw somebody once, one of these people who was let's say right wing. Like I said, I'm not either, so it's like, but they're right wing, and they posted this thing, and it said, President Biden signs a bill that says you can't use racial slurs or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but something like that.
Yeah.
And they said, well, come on, like, this is what he's using his time for. I said, well, you understand that it passed unanimously through the House and the Senate, so he has to by law sign it. He can't veto it. It's got too many votes. So what would you like him to do? But they just posted the headline, he signed this bill, so like, oh, look at what he did. No, he has to sign it.
Oh yeah, the House of Representatives and their families, like, they run the show basically, but everybody sees it differently. I just see it for a fact that I'm like, okay, this guy is just basically doing the job like everybody else is doing a job, and the bosses are pretty much the Senate or House of Representatives or whoever, from what I think. But my opinion doesn't matter because everybody else is going to have a different opinion about it, and then they're just going to bark at you. Here's my question. Here's a question: if there was a movie about a president, which there usually is. Yep. There's usually, like not Kurt Russell, Harrison Ford was a president, Murtaugh, I forgot what the full name is. He was president when, the whole, everybody like fucking got killed in the a certain explosion kind of thing with the was it 20?
There's like White House has fallen or whatever, Olympus has fallen.
There or something like that. And then you had certain ones that was, like 2019 with John Cusack, and all that. Who would you recast as a president? Like, say for now, like if you had to go and cast a president and the vice president and whoever for this day and age, who would you recast?
Now, am I recasting just anybody in the world, or it has to be an actor?
I don't know. I mean, you pick it. You're the good. You're the recast, hence the name.
Because obviously it's like, if you're like, oh, you got to pick an actor, then it's like, oh man, I got to try to think of like actors. And for me, the big thing is just who's going to be really open-minded to everything, and to not shoot anything down, but to like listen. Who's patient? Who's kind, and again, because it's a spur of the moment question, I'm just going to go with, if I use anybody in the world, I'm picking Garth Brooks. Right, he's my guy, and he's a guy he's from Oklahoma, so he's and he's a cowboy, right? He sings country music. He's from a very right wing background, but if you listen to him, he's more of a left wing or a moderate. He's very big pro LGBTQ. He's and he's pro, obviously, anti-diseases. His mom died of cancer, so he's very outspoken about like saving people.
Oh yeah,
that kind of stuff. But everything that I see him in interviews, he's so gracious and kind. A guest comes on, he takes his hat off when a guest comes on before he shakes his hand because he thinks it's rude to leave your hat on.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And when one of the things, I watched this interview with him where a lady was up in the stands. I said, hey Garth, you had your birthday like a month ago, right? Well, one of our fans up in the stands here got you a present. And so he stands up and he takes his hat off. He's like, oh, that's so nice. And she brings it down, and it's Taco Bell bucks. She's like, I read somewhere that you like Taco Bell, so I got you these Taco Bell bucks, right? And he told her, he goes, hey, hang around after the show. You and me are going to find a place to use these together.
Yeah.
But he does stuff like that all the time. He signed autographs for 36 hours straight one time. I mean, it's just bananas. And so he just seems like a very kind and open-minded person. So I would pick him. And if it had to be an actor, I would probably go with somebody like a Mark Ruffalo, right? Who's a really smart guy, but very chill and laid back. Somebody I would avoid would probably be like, I don't know, Danny Trejo. I don't know, maybe a little scary for me.
You never know. He might be like a president or something. Now, if Garth Brooks was like president, would he be wearing the cowboy hat or would he not be wearing the cowboy hat?
I mean, Bush still wore the cowboy hat, so why not?
Well, yeah, that's true. Now, I haven't seen him wear a cowboy hat that much.
Yeah, it depends. Like, you're in the State of the Union, probably not. But like,
Well, that's what I meant. I mean, like, if he was gonna wear, like, he wears it like all the time. Is he gonna wear it, like he wears on stage and then takes off when he's doing it, or if he wears it going to do a function or whatever? I'm like, fuck it.
I think if he was the president, which I think would be against his will, he wouldn't want to do it. But if he was the president, I think that he would not wear a hat. And I've always seen him either wear the cowboy hat or a baseball hat all the time. I don't even know what his hair looks like, to be honest with you.
They're probably receding a little bit. Sorry, Garth. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm just saying that you probably have to like a little receded. But so and then all right, so Garth Brooks was president, and you said that probably Mark Ruffalo would be president as well, or are you talking about like a vice president?
Oh no, if I had to pick an actor instead of a real person.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right, so Mark, and then especially when he gets mad, and you don't want to see him when he gets mad. Then the Hulk comes out and is like, crush that bill. Okay.
Well, you know who Hugh Jackman's another really kind person, but he's from Australia, so he couldn't be president.
No, yeah, that's true. You can't really do that. And Danny Trejo, I'm like, I can see that a little bit. Even music wise, they have there's I don't know what music. I know you're probably like country. You're talking about Garth Brooks mostly. But is there any other music tastes?
I listen to everything. I mean, I grew up in a house. Actually, the house I grew up in was anti-country. Like, my parents were like, "We're never going to let you listen to country music." And I obviously get to high school, you listen to what your friends listen to. Yeah. And I like everything. So I like 80s rock, especially because that's what I was raised on. So Journey is my all-time favorite band. If I'm ever in a bad mood, somebody asked this question, like, what do you listen to if you're in a bad mood? And I said, I listen to 80s metal, man. I listen to, Come On Feel the Noise by Quiet Riot. I listen to We're Not Gonna Take It, because it's hard to be blue when you're banging your head.
Yeah, that's true. Now, getting to my point about it with the music and all that, since you hit the nail on the head about like 80s music, the heavy metal one. What the fuck is his name? Dave Mustaine.
Okay. From
Megadeth and all that, which has been, he uses political terms somewhat in his music, and peace sells, but who's buying? Foreclosure of a Dream. The certain songs on there. The Devil's Island. Conjuring, everything else. There was talks that he wanted to go run for president. But that was like, I think when Bush, like Father Bush, I think was president, where he wanted to become president. But now in retrospect, you hear it going down the line, you never know. He might go and run, because hell, if you can have Donald Trump run for president, you can have anybody run for fucking president, unless you have the money for it. I mean, even The Rock said that he might run for president. I'm like, all right, there's gonna be gyms open everywhere. Yeah.
Well,
everybody's gonna be buff. Yeah.
I always take the approach of, I won't discredit anybody on name only. Like, let me hear what they think about stuff. Maybe they're really intelligent and they know a lot more than you think they know. And so I had said that I like The Rock personality wise. So, I mean, but I don't know what he knows about politics. And if he were to talk and it sounded like he really knew what he was talking about, then all day long. I did want to go back, actually, because I thought of while you were talking. Anybody in history to be president, I'm going George Carlin. Carlin would be the best president.
He tells it like it is, and is brutally fucking honest. That is like, I miss that guy, man. I just miss like his stand-up now. Like, if he was gonna do stand-up now, it would blow everybody else out of fucking water. Because he tells it like it is. Especially when you have Donald Trump or something on there, he'll fucking tell you. He doesn't give a shit. I think he was in a TV show. I think he was a cabbie, I think, in a TV show at one point. And he was telling his shit, we could, like on there. And it was just funny as hell. It's like, lost a great, comedian, which would make waves even to this day. Like I said, it's like, like George Carlin, put him in there. But whatever comedians do you listen to? Or
Yeah, I'm a big comedy fan in general. Carlin was my all-time favorite. I think he's the GOAT. He's the best there ever was.
Yeah.
And there's other guys like modern day. One of the guys who passed away, another one who we lost way too early. He was only 40 years old when he died, so younger than me now.
Yeah.
Was Patrice O'Neill. Was incredibly funny. And I thought like he was just hitting his stride when he died. He did Elephant in the Room. He did the Mr. P podcast, whatever it was, and it was like he was just starting to take off, and then he died. And it was unfortunate because he would have been one of the all-time greats. Dave Chappelle, I like. Louis C.K., I think is hilarious, even though I know he's got some baggage that people don't like. But I think he's funny. I don't know. Just, to me, funny is funny. John Mulaney, he's another funny guy. As long as somebody's funny, I'll listen. And like I said, I like comedy, so I'm constantly going through my phone looking for like stand-up comedians I've never heard of. Nate Bargatze is another really funny guy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So again, very chill, laid back kind of delivery.
Yeah, it's just like there was like someone with Louis Black. You know, Louis Black is
oh great.
Yeah, especially when he like you know.
Yeah, I don't know if he has like Tourette's or something, but he's so funny with it when he gets stuttery and angry.
Yeah, and he gets just so fucking angry. He goes, "Oh, I fucking hate this son of a bitch." You know.
I listened to one. I was laughing so hard that my stomach hurt. He was talking about candy corn, and he was like, "I fucking hate candy corn." And it was so funny.
It's just like out of nowhere, candy corn. I fucking hate it. I'm like, we're just talking about this. Fuck that shit too. Yeah. And then, George Lopez. Now I love George Lopez. Like the younger. I mean, he's funny now, but I mean, you know, he's been funny all the time. It's like the younger version, and he has that look like like he was shocked. You know, I know her. You know. And it's just like that comedy special was always got me good. We call it just like laughing hysterical. And then, you know, when I was married, my wife would come down the stairs and like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm having raviolis." I'm like, "It's 2:00 in the morning." I'm like, "I'm watching George Lopez." "Okay, I'll sit down and watch too." You know. and then she goes, "What kind of raviolis?" I'm like, "Meat raviolis." "Oh, yeah. So, but what is your favorite food? Now we're going to go into foods here. Yeah,
Okay.
we go over the fucking place on this show.
That's fine. Yeah, my favorite food is what I think is the majority of people in the world's favorite food, which is pizza. You can't go wrong with pizza. I don't care. Pepperoni, meat lovers, extra cheese. And as long as there's no vegetables. I can't have vegetables or fruit on my pizza. But meat and cheese, I'm all in. And then, of course, pasta, anything Italian. If I went to Italy, I'd be 400 pounds.
Yeah. And also, folks, no fucking pineapples.
Right.
Why? Because it's decorative? No. Fuck that shit. I'm going to pull a Louis Black. Fuck that shit. You know.
And I understand people say that they like the contrast of the sweet and the salty, but not my pizza. You know, on candy, okay, but not my pizza.
I mean, I was watching this. There was this YouTube channel. I'm not going to get into like the describing of the YouTube channel as it is, but there's a girl that, you know, they were eating Domino's pizza. So they had all this stuff from Domino's and they're trying to eat each and every one of it. And all of a sudden she had one where there's pizza with pineapple on it. And I'm like, who the fuck? And then one guy's like, no, don't give me that. That's disgusting. You know, I'd rather eat the anchovy one. Give me the anchovy one. Fuck the pineapple on the pizza. I know I'm gonna have a lot of people going like, what's wrong with pineapple on pizza? It fucking sucks. You know, juices on juices. No. You know, give me we call it the cheesy bread and now I'm getting hungry. But I just had we call it not the the corn dogs, but they're not really corn dogs. It's like sausage with like pancakes wrapped around it. You know,
a pig in a blanket.
Kind of like a pig in a blanket, yeah. But it is a corn dog. It's called, but it's not like a hot dog in a thing. But it's you know, basically like breakfast on a stick.
Okay.
So and we got back from the grocery store and I'm like, I'm getting hungry. I'm like, you know what? I'm like looking in the freezer and I'm like, I forgot I had these. I'm having 3 of these. And she goes, that's so unhealthy. I'm like, I'm American. You know, put it in a microwave for like a minute and a half and it's all good. You know, and then now we're gonna have what you were just talking about, Italian food. We're having pasta with meatballs and sauce. Yeah. So it's always good. But then also I got the cauliflower chicken.
That sounds all right.
I know it sounds right, but it's like one of those bags that you put in the microwave, the steamer
Yeah.
bags. It's a
Yeah.
steamed cauliflower chicken kind of thing. So I'm like, I grabbed it. I'm like, let's try this out. She goes, really? You're gonna try it? I'm like, might as well. Yeah.
And it's funny thing that's food, and we just went from comedians to food. Is I listened to a funny thing. It was Bill Burr, who's another funny guy, right?
Oh yeah.
And Bill Burr was over in England or somewhere in Europe, and he was doing a stand-up special. And he goes, "Yeah, I gotta say this to you as an American, y'all are pretty fat too."
And that's another person that tells it like it is. There's no filter on this guy. There's no filter on George Carlin. There's no filter. Hell, there's no filter on Andrew Dice Clay either. But
let me
yeah,
ask you about that. I mean, what do you think about the whole cancel culture thing, where they're going back and saying, "Oh, well, you said this thing back in 1986, so now we're not going to give you a job anymore." You know what I mean? And like that's 40 years ago. You know?
that's like what they did with wrestling too. Like there was a guy that said the N word,
Yep.
and all of a sudden nowadays that was like 30, well, like you said, 40 years or whatever. It's like maybe 40 years down the line in the beginning of the career of it. All of a sudden it resurfaces and like, oh, he said this, and then it's like, oh, they took all his shit off the shelf, they did this, they did that, and blah, 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 yeah. And I'm like, it's like years ago. I mean, it should have been squashed. I mean, it doesn't matter anymore. I'm like, everybody says stuff now, and it's not politically correct, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I watched an interview, and it was on Fox News, but it was with Patrice O'Neill. They brought him on, and they had asked him, because it was right after Imus had said the thing about the girls at Rutgers that got him fired. And then I think Opie and Anthony had said something about raping Condoleezza Rice or something like that. They made some sort of joke about it, whatever.
Yeah.
And they asked Patrice O'Neill, "What do you think about these jokes? Do you think they should be fired and whatnot?" He goes, "No, don't fire these people." He goes, "Listen," he goes, "funny jokes and unfunny jokes come out of the same birth. You can't punish somebody because the joke didn't turn out funny. They were trying to be funny. Like, they weren't trying to be malicious." And that's the way I've always felt about it, is if you're making a joke and maybe it's off color or not what we would consider PC today, right? Yeah. But if you're not trying to hurt somebody, if you're just trying to make people laugh, then I feel like for the most part, you should have a lot longer leash than I feel like the media gives people.
Yeah, I mean, they do that to everybody else, like, oh, you shouldn't have said that or this and that, but then they start, then they can say it whatever they want. There's a lot of comedians that say what they want, and they don't get reprimanded or whatever. But then with somebody that's not, they're like, oh, you shouldn't have said that. It's like, what? He just said that last week. Oh yeah, but he's well known. It's like, whatever. I mean, I'll make fun of like anybody, but I'm doing it in a joking way because I don't like to be confrontational.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more like now. I mean, we just we're bullshitting and everything else and having a great time, and which is great. I do that with everybody. I try to, but it's like you're gonna get like that one person that's like, oh well, why you had to say it like that or this and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to be offensive to anybody. I'm like,
right.
It's funny because it's like your stereotypical, like somebody would say something about Oriental people, or they'll say something about Russian people, or they'll say something about Indian people and whatnot, because it's stereotypical and everybody's making jokes about it. But then you got like, say myself trying to make a joke and just comes out wrong, like you said, that if it comes out wrong, oh well, that you're an idiot. I'm like, what? I just said the same thing this guy said.
Mm-hmm.
But it was turned out in wrong context. So, but Bill Burr, he could really make a hurting on somebody as well, even if they're just joking around and they're gonna come right back at you. It's just like the hecklers. If you're a heckler, you would not want to go against Bill Burr, or you don't want to go against Adam Ferrara, actually, because I love that comedian as well. I always want to see him, and I saw him. There's a place called Governors Comedy Club, and he hit it at park. I was like, I love this one. I'm like, it's better than watching the fucking the hypnotist trying to hypnotize people on stage. I'm like, what the fuck are we watching? And then they said, oh, we want to see. I'm like, Amateur Art. And then 2 weeks later, I got not an email, but like something in the mail saying we got, oh, Amateur Art is gonna be at the Governor's Comic Club. And I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, let's go. And then my wife sat there and she was pounding them fucking like shots of Ruffle mints and everything else. And and I'm watching, I'm like, oh, this is great. No, I'm sorry. No, she was doing that while we are watching the hypnotist like hypnotizing everybody. It was like me and my friend and my wife were just like, she's doing shots of like Black House or something and Rumplements, and she's taking my drink and drink. I'm like, I don't want to hear this shit either. I'm like, give me my drink back. I'm like, God damn it. And then we were like hammered, but she was more hammered than all of us. So it's like me, my wife and my friend Key, we call it. So he has like this long red hair. He looks like the Cowardly Lion from like the Wizard of Oz. I'm like, hey, we're like the Wizard of Oz. I'm like the Scarecrow. I like, my wife is like Dorothy, hence without the dog. And you look like the Cowardly Lion. He goes, well, who's going to be the Tin Man? Well, we'll find something. We'll find somebody on the way over to the parking lot. We're up to see the wizard.
It looks like guy's got a prosthetic leg. He could be the Tin Man.
There you go. Yeah, he's painted on the heart. He's got tattoos that the heart on him. Let's get him. Who's going to be the wizard? I'm like, well, that guy's selling drugs over in the corner. Yeah, he could be the wizard. It's like, how much? $250? Fuck that shit. No, I can get it for $1.25. Anyway, folks, don't go to a street corner and get drugs. No, don't do that.
Especially not for $1.25.
That's not for $1.25. You can get like Midol for $1.25. And especially if the guy's name is Black Magic. But I don't know, bad choice of words. But anyway, Bill Burr, and then so we talked about music, and they got the hair metal. Food we covered. I'm trying to figure out what was the only one that but stupid of me. Tell us about your podcast. What is it about?
So my podcast is called Recasted, which is actually vernacularly incorrect because there's no such word as
big word.
Yeah, no such word as recasted. It's actually recast. That's the past tense of recast is recast.
Okay.
And so I've been told that by casting directors that we've been trying to get on to interview, and they'll say that's recasted isn't the word. I'm like, well, it's a catchy name for a podcast though. So anyways, it's called Recasted, and what we do is we take movies. Our rules are it has to be at least 20 years old. We'll recast it today in 2022 with modern day actors and actresses, and we can't recast anybody from the original cast, not even in a different role. And we usually don't do anything that has kids in it, only because nobody knows who any child actors are. So it's like, well, we're not going to do like The Sandlot, as fun as that is. We're going to do movies that are more like, adults, and it's fun. And so we get a lot of people who will get angry with some of our picks, like, how could you pick that guy? And the first bit of controversy we had, we did the movie Armageddon, and this is my co-host Jesse's favorite movie. And so when I cast a role, I try to think of whose personality and whose acting talents encapsulate the character that I'm recasting. And Jesse's more like who looks like the guy, but I'm trying to think who really in spirit is the same person. So when we did Armageddon and I was recasting the Bruce Willis role, Harry Stamper, I recast Denzel Washington because I think Denzel has that seriousness like Bruce Willis. He comes across as he would be educated about things because he has that kind of studious personality. And I just felt like he was a great fit to put into Armageddon. Well, this drew the ire of some people because they felt like I was recasting a minority in the role just to be like, woke or whatever. And I had to explain to them, I was like, no, I really think Denzel would be great in this role. I mean, Harry Stamper doesn't have to be white. And that's my whole thing when I'm recasting is I don't take race into consideration unless it needs to be taken into consideration. When we did A Time to Kill, you can't cast a white person in Samuel L. Jackson's role because you can't, it doesn't make sense. But in Bad Boys, theoretically, you could have two white cops in Bad Boys because they don't have nothing in the movie is dependent on their race. But anyway, so a little off track, but so we recast movies.
But I understand what you're saying. Yeah, because you can get like anybody that can be going into a strip club or whatever. Any cops You know, that could be white, black, you know, Asian, whatever, you know, can go and be that kind of like hip and rocking, you know, and still doing their job as a cop.
Right, exactly. And I actually got into a little bit of a disagreement with one of our guests. We recast the movie Reservoir Dogs.
Okay.
And they went ahead and they were making a very racially diverse cast. They had and sexually diverse, because we had Angela Bassett was their head guy, you know, the Joe, and
Okay.
then they had you know, black, Asian, one white character. And I said to him, I said, listen, man, I'm all for doing whatever. I said, I just want to say that my issue with this is, if you've watched the movie Reservoir Dogs, I don't know how many times they say the N word, but this is a group of racist white guys. You know, so you can't cast a black female lead in a part where they say the N word derogatorily. Like, it's just, you can't.
Yeah.
But whatever, they disagreed with me, and that was fine. I won that one, so it's no big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not going to name the podcast. No, it wasn't me. I'll tell you right now, it was not me. You know, I didn't do it. You know, I would never do it because I got like friends that are like in all different, like, I can go to a UN and make friends everywhere. You know, that's how, you know, diverse I am. I can, you know, hang out with somebody that like are into like, you know, Tupac and all that, and they can go to somebody that are into like Chinese rock groups or whatever, and whatnot. I know it doesn't sound right, but you know, it's you know, I can talk to anybody anywhere, and you know, and whatnot. Hence the people in Germany. We go to, you know, they're hanging out in Italy, and I can go and talk to them like it's nothing. It's like, as long as we have a criteria or a certain thing that we both like, which was metal, and metal makes the whole world go around. And funny story, when I was in Italy, whatever you do, do not wear a rebel hat on your head when you're in Italy, because the Italian police are against rebels.
Mhm.
And I did not notice. I just got the hat because it looked cool, and I wore the hat. And we went to the airport because we're about to leave. I put my luggage to be weighed, and it was like overweight, so I had to go to a certain area, like you always do. You go to another area to get a ticket saying it was overweight. Come back, me and my brother-in-law walk in, and here's the military Italian police, we call it, with their AK-47s pointed at me. And I'm like, whoa. He goes, passport. And I hand my passport, and I showed him, and they're like, American. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, but then it's like, no, this no good. You know, and they show the hat, and I'm like, I didn't know. I looked cool, you know, I got like that. And all of a sudden we walked back, and everything was fine. And we walked back, and my brother-in-law said to my wife, his sister, it's like, your husband almost got us fucking killed. I'm like, I didn't know if I was wearing a rebel fucking hat. You know, and he goes, what happened? It's like, oh, military police, they had the AK-47 pointed right at us. And all of a sudden my wife's like, oh my God, really? What happened? And I'm like, no, everything was fine. I'm like, shit. That's the only time I ever thought I crap myself, because I never had a gun like an AK-47 pointed at me, you know. And like, it's like watching the movie, like, don't know, what's that smell, you know. So it's like, oh, I gotta write that down. Okay, military police, you know, in Italy. But have you ever gone to like different countries since you know?
Just Bermuda. Bermuda is the only one, and again, loved it. But even within this country, I haven't traveled as much as I would like. I grew up on the East Coast. I grew up in New England, so Maine, Connecticut, Vermont, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I've been to Canada, and then I guess that's another country, right? Because but it didn't seem like it when I lived in Maine,
Yeah.
because I lived right on the border, so it was just like, it felt like it was like the next city over. And then I don't know, I've been to California, Florida, you know, and
California's an all country. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it was funny. I mean, every place has their own thing, and my favorite thing, actually, in New England that I like is that, you know, people are so passionate about sports here in New England, and I think the one time I was worried about wearing something, because you mentioned wearing the hat, was right after the 2010 NBA Finals. The Lakers had just beaten the Celtics in the NBA Finals, and I'm a Lakers fan.
Yeah.
So I wore my Kobe Bryant shirt like 2 days after the Celtics just lost to Boston. And I thought, is somebody going to pick a fight with me? But they didn't actually. Nobody said anything negative at all. Like all the people said was like, "Oh, cool shirt," or
Yeah.
whatever.
I mean, it's very, because we're in, I live in Long Island and I'm a Yankee fan. No way hate. Okay, don't hate. So, when it's funny when you go and you got your mortal enemies, you got Yankees versus Red Sox. That's like the epitome of, that'd be a movie right there as it is. It's like they're at war with each other and everything else. But then when you go into the game, and then they're like, all right, we're all the one and the same and everything else. And it's like Mets versus the Yankees, like Subway Series and all that. You're going to get altercations here and there, but you're like, oh, am I going to get yelled at? Or am I going to get, like beat up because I'm wearing this? There was one person that was actually, we're working in the Subway Series. It was like Mets and Yankees. And there was a guy wore a Red Sox jersey. The only guy wearing in a Red Sox jersey where they had the bleacher creatures, and everybody was on this guy, the Yankee fans, the Mets fans, they were on the Boston Red Sox fan. I was like, holy shit. But you mentioned California. Now I got a movie that I actually personally like. I watched this when I was younger and I was trying to find it to this day, and I found it on Tubi. The movie's called Hard Bodies.
Okay.
And basically the movie is about, hard bodies, as they call them, hard bodies is like the hottest, women that's on the beaches. The ones that are like, models and everything else. They go down the boardwalk, they, go on the beach and all, they call them hard bodies. So there's this mover shaker kind of guy that like lives pretty much like scamming people here and there, and tries to get something, and then starts scoring with the girls, but kind of like, as he calls it, running dialogue on them, and there's like not the nerdy guy, but he's just doesn't seem like he's part of the outfit, but he is a native to the where they live, so he knows the area, he knows everybody about. And there's these three older guys, that business guys, and they're like, oh, we're gonna go here and meet women, oh yeah, and they try to meet women that were in the typical 80s movie too, like the guy's wearing the cheetah fucking short fucking shorts and all that, and the headphones and the Walkman and walking around. You go, hey, what's going on? Sun lotion everywhere. And the kid is teaching them how to do this running dialogue and doing this and everything else, and try to be like the ladies' man. And I think it went a little bit more perfect than he figured. So all three of them, scoring numbers, getting girls to come over to the house, they're getting laid, they're doing this and that. There's like this one that's kind of heavy set or whatever, and one girl met him and he goes, I don't know, I'm kind of small, and then she looks like, holy shit. And he's like, like a porn star looking, type or something, like a Ron Jeremy kind of person. Doesn't look like he's anything, but then you're like, whoa, what the fuck? But it's just the funniest fucking movie. We call it, I love watching it. It's just like, I'm an 80s guy, I'm anything that's 80s wise, hence horror movies like Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Hellraiser, whatever, even it, when they did the miniseries. That's my bread and butter. That's what I love to watch. Actually, which is funny, after we just started this, like, I was watching Night of the Living Dead, Return of the Living Dead, Necropolis. And that is just like awesome to watch. It's not as best as the original, but you take what you can get. Yeah. So, but where can they find you at there, my friend of Wayne, not Wayne's World?
Although I got called that a lot growing up because of the movie in the series. But no, so if you want to check out Recasted 2.0 is what we call it. and you can find it anywhere that you listen to podcasts, iTunes, Spotify. We really like Good Pods because Good Pods really does a good job of promoting those independent podcasts. And so Good Pods is great. Download it. It's free. You can stream or download on Good Pods. Google Podcasts, like I said, anywhere that you listen to podcasts, if you look up Recasted 2.0, our show will come up. And what we've just started doing recently, and people seem to like it, is before we recast the film, we review the film first. So we'll do a 40-minute, 45-minute review episode talking about what we thought about the film. And then a week or two later, we'll do the recast of the film. And so, like I said, with Beverly Hills Cop is the next episode we have coming out. And Jesse's never seen it. So it's kind of cool for him to give his thoughts. I've seen it a bunch of times.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's seen it. What do you mean I haven't seen it? How old is this guy?
So Jesse's younger than me. So I'm going to say he's 34, 35.
You still could have seen it somewhere.
Because we just did Fast Times at Ridgemont High and we had to recast Judge Reinhold.
Have you seen that?
Well, he had never seen that before we did the episode. So we had to recast Judge Reinhold in that movie. And he was the only thing that he knew him from was the Santa Claus as the stepdad, Neil.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, that's the only thing you know him from? I'm like, you didn't see Gremlins? I'm like, you didn't see Beverly Hills Cop? And he was like, I've never seen those movies. I was like, we're watching Beverly Hills Cop. We go.
Gremlins. I'm trying to remember Gremlins with Judge Reinhold.
Yeah, he worked at the bank and he used to give a hard time to Peltzer.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's like one of those spur of the moment things that you don't see them as much. Or, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. That is classic.
Yep.
Judge Reinhold, yeah.
And so, yeah, that was a fun one to recast. And what's crazy, sometimes Jesse comes out with some really crazy off the wall picks. So I'll give you an example. We did The Matrix, and for the role of Neo, which was Keanu Reeves, he cast Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter. And I thought, really, as Neo? And he got a lot of crap for that. And so we just did, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And for Mr. Hand, who I think is hilarious in that film, Mr. Hand, I want Greg Kinnear because he always plays kind of that studious teacher type of guy.
True.
And he's got a comedy background.
Yeah.
And he went with Rainn Wilson or Dwight from The Office. And I just thought that was kind of weird.
Well, I don't know. He is funny. He does like some weird shit, and he might be able to bring it out there to, for like a Mr. Hand kind of role. I don't know. It's you think about it, and I'm not saying I'm on the wavelength of your buddy, what you call it, but I think he has a knack of, because I think I know where he's going with it, So yeah, I could see that though. I could see that. I'm trying to think of like a movie wise that we can do like a recasting thing now, but I don't know what is. I was gonna say Airplane, but I was like, shit. There's a lot of people. There's like guest stars in there and everything else, so you can't really do it. And plus, there's kids in there too.
And we don't do a whole lot of, I want to say, like slapstick type stuff because it's a different type of actor that plays in those roles. The one thing that we did talk about doing, we haven't gotten around to it, but it's been rolling around in the back of my head, was doing an Adam Sandler recast. So what we would do is we would take Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, and The Waterboy, and we would pick one actor to play the Adam Sandler role in each film, but then we would have to pick the other actors in the other films to go around him.
Yeah. Because he always has like friends going around and like grown-ups and everything else. What was the one that I never figured it was an Adam Sandler movie? I forgot. It was the end of days? No, not End of Days, not the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger. No, there's one that has like old comedians.
Oh yeah. Funny people, right?
Yeah, no, I mean it was something the end. It was like aliens are taking over the world or something like that, and the comedians are running around. They're in one. It's like a mixture of The Mist and like the end of the world.
Oh, so this is the end.
Yeah, this is I think that's what it's called. Yeah.
I know that has like Seth Rogen and Jonah Hill
and Kevin Hart, which is like a small role. It wasn't like a thing. He got sucked into the hole. There was like this Indian comedian as well.
They all play themselves, right?
They all play themselves and everything else, and it was just like, hey, Noah, Jonah, what do you want to do? We don't want to go anywhere. You know, but it's just like funny, like shit. Yeah, that one is like kind of hard to like, nail somebody down to do a recast. I don't know how people do it. Like, oh, let's go and recast. I mean, you guys do it, yeah. But like say for Hollywood to go and recast like an original movie or something, and like, oh, we're gonna, recast this person. I'm like, really?
Well, so I got to interview Eileen Starger. She is a casting director in Hollywood, and she's done Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. She did Three Men and a Little Lady. She did The First Wives Club. So
Okay.
she's done some pretty decent sized movies. And I was asking her about the process, and she said, there's so many factors to it, because one, you'll have the studio might have a contract with a particular actor or actress that they have to do like 5 movies with. So that's the first person they'll think of. Like, oh, what if we do this one with The Rock or whatever? And then you'll have, after that, you have discussions. You have a creative, you have the casting director, you have the producers, you'll have the director, and they start throwing names out there. Like, okay, we read the script. Who do you think about this? Oh, I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I don't really like her. What about this? And then start throwing names around until they come up with some people. And then they'll have certain roles where they audition those roles, and they'll have people come in and they read and they videotape them reading, and then they'll have second callbacks and things like that. So
Yeah.
it's a pretty big process to get a cast, and so that's why I don't want to like crap on anybody when we do a recast. I'm not saying, oh, you did a bad job casting this.
No, no.
It's a hard job, but it's more just like, hey, it's fun. It's 2022 now. It's 25 years later. Let's see, who would we pick today?
Yeah. Because I'm trying to. Like, so you're saying like 20 years, like for the recasting movies that are 20 years older.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, like you said, I always know comedian ones because it's like, Police Academy. There's like a lot of people you can do with that.
Well,
But
one that we wouldn't do, just because again, it's a small amount of people that you would recast. It's not a huge cast,
yeah.
but a phenomenal movie. And this came out in 2000 or 2001. That's Gladiator.
Oh yeah.
I mean, who would we pick as Russell Crowe? Who would we, the main character?
Weird Al. No.
Well, like I said, I'm a big Hugh Jackman fan. I think Hugh Jackman would be good there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because Russell Crowe's Australian as well,
Yeah.
so it would fit. But then who plays Joaquin Phoenix's role? Because he was great in that.
Yeah, that one. I mean, nowadays, like you try to think of anybody, and it's just.
Well, and again, and just off the top of my head, because Joaquin Phoenix in that movie came across as such a dickhead. Like, you just didn't like him the minute you saw him on screen. And I think, who's an actor that I get that vibe from? And I would probably go Edward Norton. Would be that kind of role.
I was thinking Malkovich.
Yeah, a little old for that particular role.
Yeah, but that's true. Yeah,
he was like the son of the emperor.
Yeah, but you figure we could, like, now, if I'm not saying CGI it, but I mean, people that do makeup and everything else, they do wonders with makeup and all that. So I don't know, maybe. I don't know. I got to think about that one. Yeah. Yeah, but you can't really do Gremlins, because Gremlins, well, you could. Yeah, it's not really like comedy. Huh?
It's really the puppets were the star of that.
Yeah, I know. And Hulk Hogan too. He's in
Gremlins too. Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, God, we're trying to watch a movie. It's like, oh, sorry. But no, but you got like which is the funniest shit. Not the funniest. There is a movie called Hatchet, right? Okay. Has 1, 2, 3, I think possibly 5 horror icons in this movie. Mm-hmm. And have you seen Hatchet or no?
I haven't. No.
Oh, okay. I can't really tell you. We call the name, the 5 icons. But there's Zach Galligan from Gremlins. Mm-hmm. He's in the movie. He plays a sheriff. Sid Hauk or Hike, House of a Thousand Corpses and all that. The clown. He's in the movie. Candyman, Tony Todd. He's in the movie. Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger. He's in the movie. Who else was it? Danielle Harris from Halloween, the younger girl. Now she's a little bit older. She's in the movie. You ever seen Grandma's Boy?
Grandma's Boy, yeah.
The guy that played the kid that that thinks he's a robot.
Yep.
He's in the movie. There's all these, like, I know he's not really a horror icon, but like everybody else that you would figure that played in and also the guy that played Jason on Friday the 13th, you know, Kane Hodder, he's in the movie as well, but he is not the killer. Well, actually, yeah, he is. You know, he plays the father of a kid that's deformed, which is Hatchet. But Hatchet is played by Kane Hodder as well. So he's doing double duty. So it's a really, the first one was really good. I liked the first one. Then they had second and third one, but then they had like, oh, the legend of Victor Crowley, which is Hatchet. That one was just fucking stupid. And I hate to mention it that it's stupid, but I mean, honestly, you could do better with cinematography and whatnot. You know, the blood splatter is awesome, but you know it's fake. You know, like you know, the hand comes off and
I think it's hard to stretch out any franchise. I mean, I'll give you I love the original Fast and the Furious movie with Paul Walker and Vin Diesel. Yeah. And then they did Too Fast, Too Furious, which was Tyrese. And again, you're like, where's Vin Diesel? This is stupid without Vin Diesel. Yeah. And so then they did Tokyo Drift, which I actually thought was pretty cool. And it was different.
Yeah, I actually liked it too. Yeah.
And then when they came up with the Fast and the Furious 4 and they brought Vin Diesel back, I was like, all right, this is kind of cool too. But now they're on like number 10 and 11. And I'm like, all right, it's too much now.
Like, was it John Cena's like the brother or something?
Yeah.
Of Vin Diesel. I think Jason Momoa is in the movie as well. There's a slew of others. I mean, even Charlize Theron, which I love. If I can get her on the show.
As a dream guest?
Yes. Well, there's many dream guests. I mean, there's Elvira, you know, that want to get on here. And, you know, and actually the guys from Broken Lizard.
Yep.
You know, that did all Super Trooper 2, Beer Fest, you know, Slam and Salmons.
Honestly, I didn't like Club Dread. I thought that was horrible.
Oh, I love Club Dread. That's like the first one I've seen. Yeah. And that's like, it was just like awesome. But I didn't know it was like just a group and then they're going to do different movies. Like Beer Fest was like fucking awesome. They could play any kind of character. It's like they switch it up all the time. But I think the reason why I like Club Dread is because of Brittany Daniels.
Okay.
You know, she's in there. I'm like, even though she's a twin, I'm like, that's fine. and she's just like, she pairs up with one of the guys. I forgot the name again. But he is supposed to be some kind of like masseuse. Mm-hmm. And he has like dreadlocks. He's a white guy with dreadlocks and everything else. And he knows everything about the pressure points. And here's a, you know, relaxation thing. Like, oh
yeah, it's the guy that played Farva is the
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you know, it's like, well, do you know any sexual ones? It's like, oh yeah, of course. You know, here's this one. And it touches like the lip. And she's like, oh fuck me. You know, she was literally
well, I said so. Brittany Daniels actually is a great, you know, one of those people that is like I won't call him like a one-hit wonder in Hollywood. I mean, I know she did like Dawson's Creek and The Babysitter's Club and things like that.
Yeah.
But you know, she's really kind of like been in one or two movies and then you never hear from her again. Yeah. But just like you said, complete smoke show. And the other one that I think of like that is Shannon Sossaman, who was in 40 Days and 40 Nights, I think it was, with Josh Hartnett. He can't masturbate for a month or whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
And she was the girl, and then she was also in A Knight's Tale. She was the female lead in A Knight's Tale.
Yeah.
But she did those like two movies and then you never hear from her again.
But Heath Ledger, right? Yeah. Oh wait. Yeah, Knight's Tale, Heath Ledger, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That is another actor I love, but you know, gone too soon.
Yep.
Because his portrayal of the Joker, by far, I loved it. Even though I know it's a graphic novel of that Joker, he fucking kicked it out of the park. And I don't know if you noticed, and I read about this, that Jack Nicholson, when he did the first Joker on Batman, you know, the Batman trilogy stuff, even though, now folks, I know you're gonna say, oh my God, that one really sucks. No, I mean, it's like, it's the most cinematic movie they made of Batman. Like the very first one, you know, the ones after that, but then they got the Christian Bale doing the graphic more Batman. that kind of relived it a little bit more. And then now Heath Ledger jumps in to be the Joker. And that is just like, and I think he got an Oscar or whatever, I think.
Yep.
And Jack Nicholson, getting right back to it, Jack Nicholson, he was talking to Heath Ledger and he goes, listen, he goes, you're doing this Joker. He goes, don't think anything of it. Don't get you far into it because that's just going to take over your life. Mm. He goes, I did it. And he goes, my life was been like the last year and a half of his life was just like a living hell. Mm. Like all this mental whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, no problem. Whatever. I mean, I don't know what happened with Heath Ledger. I know he passed away, but I don't know from what. And I should have looked it up myself, but
he overdosed.
Huh?
He overdosed.
Yeah. It's like you try not to want to listen, hear that, because he's so, and he seemed like so well mannered and everything. I was like, when you talk to him and everything else, he's just like he does like the greatest roles. He was like the Order, I think it was. There was a movie like where he played a priest, and there was like a cult that's like underneath, I think Italy, I think it was, or Greece. I'm not even sure whereabouts, but there's like there's like this guy that's like partnered with him, and he was in. Actually, funny it is, he played in the movie with Michael Keaton that wasn't Batman, but he played a musician. Michael Keaton was a musician, and the thing was like a Frosty the Snowman kind of movie.
Oh, Jack Frost.
Yeah. So, and then that guy that was like his best friend or something that was on the road, and he always picks him up, goes, and he was playing with Heath Ledger, in that movie and all that. And it was just like an awesome combination. I know folks are like, well, I don't understand the whole correlation of it. It's just how, Heath Ledger is acting, and then I'm trying to put the person that acts with him, but then he acted with somebody else that was in the same kind of movie they were in. It's like,
you mentioned Jack Nicholson. Have you ever heard the story Jimmy Fallon talked about going to the baseball game with Jack Nicholson?
No.
So it was funny. So, and anybody, I recommend go on YouTube and look up Jimmy Fallon, Jack Nicholson. It's a funny clip. It's from Coffee and Cars with Comedians with Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But he's telling Jerry Seinfeld the story, and he says, so I went to the Yankees game. It was me, Lorne Michaels, Jack Nicholson. Because Jack Nicholson's so cool, like his voice is his voice. He just it. And he goes, we all get something to eat, hot dog, beer. He goes, I got a box of Cracker Jacks. And so Jack leans over and he goes, did you get your prize yet? And he goes, so I hadn't. And then I start digging. I finally get the prize, and it's like a sticker with a picture of a snake on it or whatever. And Jack goes, in my day, we used to get metal things like cars and tin whistles. Then he looks out to the field and he goes, now you get a picture of a fucking snake. It was just so funny. And of course, Jimmy does a great impression of himself.
Oh yeah, he does great impressions. Like the show he does, he does like impressions, and somebody else, like he'll have the one that did like Stewie and Peter Griffin and all them. So
Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah, so he does like a good casting on both of and imitating him and everything else. But folks, we're getting to the end, and we know where you can find Wayne, and you can find me on Linktree, linktr.ee/Tattoo Squid podcast. That's TATOSQUID podcast, all one word. Go on there for YouTube, Anchor, where my platform is, and a slew of other different stuff. Breaker, whatever. You go to. You go to the store as well, which I've been trying to get people to buy the shower curtains. I get shower curtains. There's shower curtains that look like this, and there's a one with this face on there. So it might be looking at people taking a shower. Hello, how you doing? There's no video camera involved, people. I swear, there's no video camera. And what else is there? There's like a slew of different other stuff. You can get a skateboard, you can get a coffee mug, a latte mug, shirts, sweatshirts, whatnot. But folks, if you do get the shower curtain, take a picture of it, put it on Twitter, tag me on Instagram. Go to tattoo-squid.podcast on Instagram and just tag me on there. I want to see who gets it. So, but Wayne, thank you for being on the show. It's on this Saturday, but it might come out probably in a month. Still got more stuff to put out there. So you know how the deal goes.
Oh yeah, well, I'm happy to be on the show. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, cool. I'm very pleased that I try to get everybody to have fun on it. It's like I know it's like we can't really talk about ourselves. I don't know if we can do that or not. Yeah, we could, but everybody comes out and they're like, "Oh my god, it's so fucking good." It's like, folks, you never see it where a podcaster is talking to other podcasters about their show. It's like a late night talk show host, but like a podcasting thing. So everybody has a good time, everybody has fun. If we can be able to do this face to face, I mean, we are, but I mean, face to face, like like in a room, and they're like, "Hey, maybe drink some coffee. How you doing?" Yeah. And I have the band in the background. Okay, take us out. But it's not gonna work because I had no money for it. No way. That's why we want people to buy our shit, so we have money. Do you have a place that you sell your stuff to?
Do we have a place that we record? You're saying,
or do you have like a place that you sell your merchandise?
Oh no, we haven't gotten to that. It's something that'll be in the works. I mean, I have another couple of podcasts that we interact with. I have like a Patreon, so you can go on there and you pay like a monthly thing. But we don't have anything set up yet. I figure once we hit a certain number of downloads and we feel like a certain number of people are interested, we might explore that option.
Yeah.
But for right now, we're trying to get as many people as we can for free.
Yeah, that's true. I have a Patreon. I don't have it set up because I'm not too savvy with like putting stuff on there. I'm like, I don't know. I still got to figure it out. So I'm still figuring out about Twitch. I don't know. It's like one of those people that tries to get everything going on and not really going so well. But I'm having fun doing it, so it's always good. So it's always good to have fun. But folks, I'm going to talk to Wayne a little bit more, just to get it, find out what he thinks about the show. And everybody have a good Saturday. It's the 18th. Long Island. It's kind of dark and windy. Feels like a September. Doesn't even feel like June. So I don't know how it is in the New England country.
It was like 60 today.
Oh yeah, pretty much. Is it windy?
I'm not sure. I didn't go out a whole lot. I think it was a little windy today.
All right, so there's your forecast for today. From both sides, even though we're on the East Coast and all that, we still get the same thing. So, all right, folks, take it easy, and I will talk to you on the flip side with another guest, probably. I don't know. I forgot who now. Well, my next one is going to be Spectro. Wait a minute, hold on. I got the name. Matt Spectro through the universe. Sounds like a superhero, but we'll know on the next one, which is probably in about 2 hours from now. So, folks, take it easy. Have a good time. Drink responsibly. I'm still trying to find that Heineken that has no alcohol in it. And that'll be it. All right, folks, take it easy.